We have an amazing guest for you today via Skype in Atlanta. I have the amazing and incomparable Miss Ruth Carter. How are you? It's muted on my side. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Oh, it's like a little technical difference. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for sharing yourself with us. Now, you are a two-time Academy Award nominee, as well as winner of the Career Achievement Awards at the American Black Film Festival in costume design. Before we get into your history, I looked you up. Like, I became aware of your career one day. I was like, every time I was watching certain films, I was like, I wonder who did the costuming in here. And then something said just start reading credits more, and I was like, Ruth Carter. Then I saw another one. I was like, Ruth Carter. I was like, who is Ruth E. Carter? And it's amazing. When I went on your Twitter briefly this week and I was seeing all your tweets, and I'm like, someone said, after you also just recently this week got nominated by Essence, and they said, I didn't know you existed. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. And you retweeted that. And I have the same sentiments, although I'm more familiar now. In the past, I had not been. Like, you have amazing body of work.
Thank you. Thank you. It's called being behind the scenes. It's called. Yeah, it truly is. And, you know, it's being an artist and letting the actors and the story be the foreground. And, you know, the person who paints the picture isn't always painting a picture of themselves. They're painting a picture of, you know, their thoughts, or maybe telling a story. So, you know, I'm not painting my face. I'm really painting, you know, the story. So
you've been
you don't see it.
Okay, you've been a part of a lot of films that have truly, and worked with phenomenal directors that have truly shaped a lot of, I guess, documented highlighting the African American experience. Was this an intentional choice for you to, like, it seems like you've really hand selected your choices. Was this an intentional career path?
I think it was. I always wanted to work for the Negro Ensemble Company when I was coming up. I always studied black theater, and when I was in college, I studied theater, and I always had, you know, an interest in learning more about black theater, and so I really always loved the black experience, and you know, black history, and, you know, family history. So that's something that's always been near and dear to my heart, even though, you know, I do love fashion and all the elements of style. So I think the two kind of merge together.
I recently saw you on the red carpet at the Costume Designer Guild Awards. You looked at fashion forward. I was like, go, Miss Ruth, in your beautiful Ruth dress. I had a blue dress. I have a picture for it a little later once we talk. But what are your inspirations when you're getting ready for yourself on the red carpet?
Yeah, well, you know, I really want to feel good. You know, I feel like what you exude, how you feel, is really what others respond to. You know, if you really feel good, you really want to make sure that the details are all there, that your makeup is done, your hair is right, because, you know, it's just not about the neck down. It's really the whole picture. So you want to make sure that you feel good, your hair and makeup is done, that you have the right shoes on, you know, and it's about being comfortable. So that, I think, is paramount, and I try to instill that in what I do.
Okay, so just to announce to our audience how, like, unimaginable I know you've worked on so many films. I'm so excited. I wanted to show you have two exhibits right now, I know, in LA where your work can be seen. One of them being at the Oscar Museum on Wilsh at LACMA, and that's the Hollywood costume exhibit. That's still going on until March 2nd. So if anyone has not checked it out, it's an amazing experience, and I want them to check it out, as well as the FIDM Museum. So both of your pieces, I mean, some of your pieces can be seen in both of those, correct?
Correct. Selma is on exhibit at FIDM. The Butler can be seen at LACMA, as well as two zoot suits are at LACMA. Spike Lee zoot suit and Denzel from Malcolm X.
What where you said you took dance in college, that's how you were influenced to get into costume. Did you say you saw a lot of theater, or you were in dance?
No, I wasn't in dance. I should have been in dance, but I wasn't. I actually,
You were
I
inspired
actually
by
got
dance.
to
Oh.
in college, I kind of became the costume designer, you know, on campus. I did the dance company that was our dance troupe for the college, and they toured. They did a tribute to Duke Ellington, and for my senior thesis, I did the costumes. And you know, I was committed. I stayed in my my apartment. I had a little apartment off campus, and I did all the costumes for the dance company over the Christmas break. I mean, not many people would stay, you know, stay on campus during Christmas break to do costumes. So but that's what I did, because, you know, I had to finish my senior thesis project, and you know, I had tutus hanging on walls and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So that's what I did in college, and that's kind of how I taught myself, you know, about costuming. You know, I did dance theater, and I also did all the plays, and also the music department. Once I got known on campus as the costume designer, everybody asked me to do their plays, their musicals, their dance performances. So I kind of did that, you know, sometimes more than going to class. And and I kind of taught myself, you know, along the way. It was became very popular.
So that means you were good at what you do from the beginning. You were just
I guess I was just passionate about it. I loved it. You know, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't. It was far from perfect, but it had art. I remember we did like a tribute to For Colored Girls, and I did these big black skirts that had all these colors underneath. And when the dancers, you know, danced and kicked their legs up, you saw all these brilliant colors come alive underneath. And you know, it was thrilling for me to even watch, you know, my work on stage. So I think I got hooked in, and I just said, this is something I'm going to do.
And you did it. What is your process going into a film? When you meet, is it meeting with the directors? Is it reading a script? What's that process like to get started on a project?
Yeah, you know, I try to get inspired, you know, once I read the script. I find something that really inspires me, and then I go and I present that to the director. If I'm inspired by the words, you know, I communicate that to them, especially if the director is also the writer. I let them know that their words inspired me, and I tell them in which ways that I was inspired by their words. And sometimes I'll bring something with me that illustrates that, whether it's some research, something from my library, an article of clothing, or sometimes I'll even do a layout. You know, I'll do pictures, tear sheets from magazines, and I'll show them how their story inspired me. I'll actually try to show them their script visually.
So that means that you do everything from sketching to sewing, or do you have a team? How does that come about?
Yeah, you know, I never really loved to sew. You know, I can sew, and I learned to sew, and sometimes I had to sew things myself. But, you know, I never was great. I was never perfect. Sewing is one of those things where every step of the way it has to be perfect. So I just really have a good understanding about how things are made. So I really, basically, I hire illustrators, and I have a team of people. I can illustrate myself, like on Selma. We had a very small budget, and I couldn't afford to hire someone to do illustrations for me, so I did them myself, you know. So there's a little bit of everything kind of in me, but so when I do have a team, I can guide them in the way that I want things done. So on every movie, the size of my crew is a little bit different. I might have 5 people, or I could have 14, or I could have 25. It just depends on the size of the film.
I just heard you mention something. You said with Selma, and congratulations for being a part of that production, because that was a really big film this year for us, and I know that meant a lot. That wasn't your first time working with Oprah Winfrey, but it was, what is it, I don't know if it's your second, but I know 2 films so far. Have you?
Yeah, it was my second time.
What was that experience working like on Selma?
Well, she was really so professional, and she loves acting, and she really wanted to play the part and be the character. And so I really wanted her to be something different than she was in The Butler. And I remember telling her that, we wanted to, dig deep into her Mississippi roots. And when she played Annie Lee Cooper, be this domestic character, this woman who was a domestic, who was registering to vote.
You've been in the business over 20 years, over 25 years,
Yeah.
So were there any barriers, say, in the beginning to now? Were there any things that you felt like were harder barriers to cross getting to work? Because you can pretty much, I guess, turn down what projects you want and accept which ones you do at this point. I can say that?
Well, I think that it's still competitive. I think in the beginning it was less competitive, to be honest, because I started with Spike Lee, and Spike was, basically the beginning of it all. He was the teacher. We were all, this kind of the same peer group, and we didn't look at it as like a Hollywood medium. We looked at it as an independent filmmaking experience. We were all, down for, uplift the race and, do the right thing.
Getting your body of work
school
out there.
days. And, yeah, it was our own experience, and Spike kind of dealt with us like a filmmaking family. And I bounced back and forth between New York and LA. So I went between Robert Townsend and Keenan Wayans, and then back to New York and to Spike Lee. After Spike Lee was done, I'd go back to LA and I'd do a Robert Townsend film, or a Keenan Wayans. I did I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, and Keenan had a family spirit too about his film. So we kind of, they shared me in a sense. There weren't a lot of Black film costume designers. So
yes. Even John Singleton, you've worked with John Singleton. And what were the films that you worked with Rosewood?
Yeah, I did Rosewood with him. I did Baby Boy. And yeah.
Guess what? We have a similar, I was in Baby Boy as well with, just I had one small swing. If you blink, you'll miss it. But I was in there.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna send you a picture. You did, but briefly it wasn't. I didn't know I was so green or whatever. I'm gonna tell you how green I was. I'm embarrassed to tell this story, but when I auditioned, they said you have to read your sides, and we had just had like craft services or whatever. So I'm thinking, what kind of like sides, like like greens, mashed potatoes, what? Like, so I was that green. So just know that I was intimidated to meet kind of like a lot of people, but it became more family because it was just being around the set and seeing everyone, but not understanding what I know now. But at that time, it was my introduction into behind the scenes. So
yes, and it was just very much about the neighborhood, Baby Boy, and so just like Spike, John Singleton liked to bring a lot of people who know the material firsthand together, which makes it a lot easier, So it wasn't until later in life, after I received my first nomination, did Hollywood start recognizing me as a viable person in this business.
So on that note, did you watch the Oscars? We spoke on, like, you saw moments of it. Did you get to check out a lot of the Oscars this Sunday?
I did. Oh, yeah, I did. I was packing to get to leave for Atlanta, but I did, I taped it and I rewound it and stuff.
What did you feel like? What were some of your highlights from this year's Oscars?
Oh, definitely definitely Common and John Legend, and how they brought the Edmund Pettus Bridge right on the stage, and the choir and the way they presented the song was outstanding. I mean, really, I think the show really, for us to be snubbed, as they wanted to say, they really tried to, try to reverse that and give. And very obviously give Blacks a showing, platform.
Even from the opening, I think Neil Patrick Harris was excellent for this. But I think even in that, there were, I think David was in one of the highlights when he had rolled the film. Jennifer Hudson performed. I think there was a lot of presence, and I think the Oscars have come a long way. And I enjoyed, like, from start to finish. What else did I want to...
I think the show and the production value was beautiful. It was just gorgeous.
Will you have
Yeah.
anything to share? What are your opinions on, like, I know Patricia Arquette made a statement about diversity amongst women or equality for women. Do you share those same sentiments as far as behind the scenes with equality in pay, scales, and things like that? Do you think that we're evolving?
That's always going to be present. I think that's been a fight that's been always there. I'm hopeful for the future. But as long as, the majority, the percentage is leaning more towards, males in the CEO, the leading roles in Hollywood and running the studios, it's going to be slanted. So we have a ways to go, and I'm just hopeful for the future.
What are your do you ever like just wake up, say, have a vision of someone you want to work with that maybe you haven't worked with, and it comes to, like, how does that, do you ever just think of someone that hasn't contacted you and say, I would like to work with them?
Yeah, I see movies that I love, like Tom Hardy and The Drop. I love that film. I saw it twice, and I was like, wow, I wonder if he would ever really want me to design for him, because he cares about character and he cares about the details of character, and I really feel like he would be someone that I would love to dress. There's people that I see along the way that I think that they care about character, not just, looking, beautiful on screen. They really are great actors.
So they give you inspiration for your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, having such a varied career behind the scenes, are there any favorite directors that you've worked with? Or do you have a favorite? Wow. Is it hard to?
I can't really say favorites. Spike is a favorite. He's always a favorite because he always brings innovative people to the screen. He always brings new, fresh faces to the screen. He always has really interesting material. He's daring. He's always very trusting of me. I really loved working with Ava DuVernay. I think she's a powerhouse talent. She's very confident. She's a woman, and she's super talented. She believes in me, and she makes me really feel like I'm an artist, and I feel like that brings out the best in me.
Right.
So
I feel like she's very honest. Her opinions, when I've heard her speak, she feels like it's very honest of where she's coming from, and I think it shows through in her films, bringing the characters to life. What are some of the key points? Because I know a lot of people watching can be inspired by listening to you and your career. What are some key things that you could share with us if someone was entering this business, or that they should be mindful of going into a field behind the scenes, say in costume design or other careers behind the scenes?
I think you really have to understand that you're telling a story. You've got to realize that it's not just about pretty clothes and high fashion and what's current. You got to really dig a little bit deeper. You have to be patient with yourself and not, try to know everything right away. Like, give yourself time to understand what the character is trying to say, and allow even other influences to come in. Like, maybe you don't know everything. Maybe the actor can bring something to the table. The director can bring, you don't know everything, and I think that's important, to be open to other viewpoints, and opinions, and kind of, infuse your own as well. And that's really what being a costume designer is. You're a little bit of a politician, you're a little bit of a storyteller, and you weave that through fabric. So.
Okay, so congratulations on your this week being given the Visionary Award with Essence.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that experience?
Oh my God, it was so nerve-wracking having the camera turned around on me. I had a stylist, I had, hair and makeup and all that stuff. And, I'm I'm a girl. I like hair and makeup and styling too, but I also had to write a speech, and there was a whole build-up. We did a video shoot. They came to my house and they needed costumes displayed and all my sketches. So it was a lot of work as well. So, but I was so honored that, Essence recognized me with that award, because, the recipients before me were Suzanne DePass, Ava DuVernay, Sonda Rhimes, Mara Akil. I was like, how did I get, in line for the next one? I mean, did they run out of vision? I don't know.
You have an amazing body of work. It was very, 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 you deserved it. Very, very deserving.
Thank you.
Yes. I thought of something. What, speaking of, when you mention Mara Akil, I'm mentioning film, but you've also worked behind the scenes in television. So you also worked on Being Mary Jane. Is there a difference, say, preparing for a television costume design role versus in the film? Versus films, sorry.
They're a lot similar. I'm doing Being Mary Jane season 3 right now. That's what I'm doing in Atlanta here. But TV is a lot harder. People don't realize that, because we have 10 scripts, as opposed to one big one.
Right.
We have 10, and we are preparing for them all, at the same time. And so it's a really fast-paced world. It's lots of clothes and lots of changes. So you have, you don't have a lot of time to develop character. So you develop it over a longer stretch of time.
I'm in love with Being Mary Jane's wardrobe right now. Is that your influence? Because she's told from the first season that I saw to this new season, and they're really it's so controversial. Every episode, I'm like I'm just gasping when I watch. Is that your influence in her wardrobe and costuming?
Yeah, I did the first season. That was all me. The second season was designed by Rashida Blaylock. And now I'm back to do the third season.
Wow.
So I feel like I set the pace, and Rashida, pulled up the real. It's like a relay race,
Right.
She did the middle, and hopefully I'm not, bringing the end. I'm just taking another leg. Yeah.
Taking another leg. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's so many, I guess, areas you can go in. She does, it's so many, I guess, facets to, I guess you call them layers to her
layers. And Gabrielle Union can wear anything. She just really, she looks beautiful, and she wears clothes well. She knows fashion. So she's fun to watch, and she's fun to dress.
Okay. Do you have any other favorite actresses? We talked about directors. Do you have any favorite actors or actresses that you've worked with?
Well, Carmen Ejogo is like my ultimate favorite. She's like a piece of clay. And she's a mad scientist, She gets into her characters. She played Sister in Sparkle.
Okay.
And then she was Coretta in Selma. And there's such different women, but she played them both so well, and I really had fun dressing her.
And those are two totally different characters. I'm sorry.
Totally different. Totally different. Angela Bassett too. I did her as Stella and as Coretta, and then she played Stella, Coretta, and one more.